Clips are the building blocks of projects in Ableton Live, and they work a bit differently in Session View. So let's look a bit closer and learn how to control clip playback. So I've got exercise 1 from chapter 4 open if you want to follow along. And I want to start by emphasizing that it's a good idea to indicate to Live which window that you're working in. And we can do that with these two really important buttons right here on the master track. And we have the Stop All Clips button, and we have the Back to Arrange button. Now, right now, if I tab over to Arrange View, everything looks normally. But if I go back over to Session View and I click this Stop All Clips button, it's as if we're indicating to Ableton, hey, we're working in Session View. And you'll notice that the Back to Arrange button is now orange. And if I tab back to Arrange View, you'll notice that there's now this curtain pulled across, which is telling us, hey, the area that you're working in right now and it's going to govern playback is actually Session View. And if you want to be working in Arrange View, click the Back to Arrange button. And now we're working in Arrangement View. So I just say that to remind you that if you're going to work in Session View, you open up a live set, it's a good idea to just click the Stop All Clips button to just indicate that that's where you're intending to work. So with that said, we've got clips here, and they are arranged on tracks in a vertical fashion instead of the horizontal fashion that we saw in Arrangement View. And just as a reminder, clips can be a bit of MIDI or audio, and they can vary in length. If I click at the verse clip here on the drums track, you'll notice that we see that this is a MIDI clip because I'm seeing the MIDI notes. Now, if you're seeing actually the device on the track, that's because your device view is active. And remember, you can use these two tabs to go back and forth, or you can use the key command Shift-Tab to toggle between the two views there at the bottom. So with clip view up, we can click that and we can see, okay, that clip looks like it's 8 measures long. If I click the next one on the track, it looks like it's 2. The next one is 6, and the next one is 9. So these can be of varying lengths. So one of the rules that we need to remember, though, is that only one clip can play on a track at a time. So for example, if I want to play the verse drum clip for a couple of measures, and then I want to launch the pre-chorus drums clip, I can do that by clicking on their launch buttons. And watch what happens. Now, hopefully you noticed that two things there. That when I launched the pre-chorus drums clip, it stopped the verse drums clip from playing. And then second, you might have noticed that it took a little while for the pre-chorus drums clip to start playing. Now, that's because of this global quantization value. And this is a really important parameter in Session View in that it governs how clips start playing. And right now it's set at 1 bar, which means that when you launch a clip, it's going to wait until the next bar before it starts to play. And in that way, we can keep everything kind of synchronized around beat 1. So that's how we launch clips. Now, we can stop clips a couple of different ways. This time, I'm going to launch the PC drums clip, and I'm going to stop it by clicking this stop button down here at the bottom of the track. So I'm going to hit play. Clip's playing. Now I want it to stop. So I clicked the stop button on the track, and again, notice that it waited until the beginning of the next bar for it to stop. Now you might also notice that the system is still playing and the counter is moving. But that counter really has nothing to do with Session View because this is not a linear flow. This is a non-linear workflow. So that does get annoying, but you can stop it by just clicking on the stop button. Now, the other way I can stop a clip from playing back is by just pressing the space bar. So let me launch the verse drums here. and I press my space bar to stop. And the big difference here is I hope you notice that the launch button here is still lit green. Now I refer to that as that clip having focus. And the difference here is that if I had stopped this with the stop button on the track, this launch button would have stopped and it would look like the other clips on the track and it wouldn't be lit. So the difference is if I hit my space bar, it's going to launch that clip. So any clips that have focus will launch when you hit the space bar. Now, this time what I want to do is I'm going to start this clip playing and then I'm going to add some other clips. So each time I did that, I hope you noticed that it took a bit of time before those clip launch because they were looking at the global quantization amount and they were waiting until the next bar before they launched so that they could stay rhythmically synced to the other clips. Now you'll notice that I hit my space bar to stop playback, and so all of these clips now have focus. And if I want to add, let's say, the guitar clip over here to the rest of these, if I click the launch button on this clip, all of them will start playing simultaneously. Now, it looks like there's not a lot down here in the guitar clip, so that's why we didn't hear anything. Now, if I want to flatten everything so that no clips have focus, I can go down here on the master track and I can hit the Stop All Clips button. So that kind of puts us back at 0 and we're ready to kind of start at the beginning and start clips playing and add other clips. Now, I will point out that when I was on this drums track, there's this thing in Ableton where if you select a MIDI track, it will automatically kind of record enable the track so that if you want to audition the instrument on that track, we'll be able to play keys on our keyboard and it will trigger sound. But when a track is record enabled, I want you to notice that the stop clip buttons on the empty clip slots turn into record buttons. So that's why you see these round circles or these record enable buttons on these clips versus these stop buttons on all these other clips. Okay, so now that we understand how clip playback works in live, let's move on and take a look at how scenes work.